Good morning and welcome to Mobile Device Manager Plus training. Before I can start off, I'd like to know if you're able to hear my voice as well as view the presentation. Please confirm the same by commenting on chat. Thank you folks for your confirmation. Now let me kick off. Before I start off, let me introduce myself. I am Achyutan and I'm happy to be your trainer for today. So Mobile Device Manager Plus training program is a 2-week training program aimed at facilitating better understanding of all the features that MDM has on offer. We are in week 2 today, where we'll be covering device enrollment and provisioning. The previous training session covered app management and device security. To know further details about our training program, you can refer this link below. So let us have a look at the training agenda for today's training session. So this is the agenda in a nutshell. So firstly, we'll have the overview of Mobile Device Manager Plus, the product. Under this, we'll have a general introduction about MDMP. We'll understand the MDMP architecture, as well as the ports that are required for managing the mobile devices, as well as a high-level overview on how MDM actually manages devices. This training session incorporates problem-solution approach, whereby I have taken a few scenarios that I've commonly encountered in our support. So the first such scenario that we'll be seeing is enrolling mobile devices. So here we look at the various methods that are provided by MDM for enrolling both devices that are already in use as well as new devices that are in stock. The second scenario will be pushing configurations to manage devices. Having enrolled the devices with MDM, the next obvious step would be to pass on basic configurations to the devices and ensure that users, irrespective of whether they are non-technical or not, are not burdened with configuring the device to comply with the organization security standards. And configuring the mobile devices using MDM also ensures that the devices are usage ready. So once you hand it over to the users, they can start using it immediately. The other point that we'll be seeing is how to prevent unauthorized access to Exchange. So Exchange is forming the cornerstone of any organization, and it contains all types of confidential data. We'll see the methods that are provided by MDM to prevent unauthorized access to your corporate Exchange server. This will be followed by a quick look at few scenarios and their solutions. We'll end this session with the questions that have been posed by the customers. In case you've got any queries, please do not hesitate to post it on chat. I've got an expert panel waiting here, ready to answer your questions. So firstly, we'll be having a look at the overview of the product Mobile Device Manager Plus. Mobile Device Manager Plus can be used for managing Apple, Android, as well as Windows operating systems. In case of Apple, you can actually manage their iPhones, iPods, iPads, as well as Apple TVs and Mac machines. In case of Android, you can manage smartphones and tablets. In case of Windows, we support managing of Windows smartphones, Windows tablets, that is Surface Pro, as well as Windows laptops. In addition to this, MDM also supports management of Chrome OS devices. Mobile Device Manager Plus is available as an add-on to ManageEngine Desktop Central, an integrated desktop and server management solution which is available on premises. In case you just want to manage only mobile devices, we have got a standalone option for you, which is Mobile Device Manager Plus, that is available on premises as well as on cloud. In addition to all of this, we have also got a dedicated MDM solution for MSPs, which is Mobile Device Manager Plus MSP, that is currently available on premises. In addition to all of this, MDM is also available on AWS as well as Azure marketplaces. MDM also supports integrations with multiple applications, primary among which is Spiceworks and Services Plus. So as you all know, these two are help desk solutions. And once MDM gets integrated with these help desk solutions, all your help desk queries and tickets that are raised with respect to mobile devices can be easily fixed or attended to by leveraging the existing functionalities of MDM. Similarly, MDM also integrates with Zoho Creator as well as Zoho CRM. These are two low-code app development platforms. So once you have developed your once you have developed your apps using these two software, you can then distribute it using MDM. So let us understand the Mobile Device Manager Plus architecture. This will provide you with a wholesome idea about how the product actually works. It consists of three important components, namely the MDM server, the notification services, and the devices to be managed. As you can see, the MDM server doesn't directly contact the devices. Instead, it contacts the notification services, which in turn wakes up the device, after which the device directly contacts the server. As you can also see here, the notification services are platform specific, with Apple Push Notification Service or APNS for iOS, Firebase Cloud Messaging Service or FCM for Android, and Windows Notification Service or WNS for Windows. As the devices to be managed are mobile and are always on the go, it is recommended that you NAT your internal IP address with an external IP address. For those of you who are worried about exposing your server to external networks such as internet, you can optionally configure Secure Gateway. Secure Gateway, as the name suggests, ensures that all the incoming communications are routed via the Secure Gateway before actually reaching the MDM server, thereby providing an extra layer of security. Additionally, you can also configure Active Directory for authentication purpose. So all of this is required only in case you're using the on-premises version. In case of cloud, you need not worry about any of these. As we saw in architecture, for the devices to be managed, a lot of communication that seems to be happening, and ports basically facilitate this communication. For example, the communication between the device and the MDM server happens on the secure HTTP channel using port 9383. The MDMP server to notification services uses the port 443, and the device to notification services uses these ports. These ports are to be open on your firewall or any other third-party filter that you're using. So you must be curious as to how MDM actually manages devices. So in case of Apple or Windows devices, it leverages the native MDM client that is present on the device for mobile management. This actually means that you do not have an app installed on iOS or Windows devices for basic MDM management. However, in case of Android devices, you will have to install the MDM app on your device for management. So now that you might have an idea about the overview of MDM, let us jump into the first scenario, which is enrolling mobile devices. Assume I am an IT administrator of a fictitious organization, Zilker, with a predominantly mobile-only workforce, and now I've decided to use MDM for managing these devices. But there is a little problem here. Since this organization has predominantly been mobile-only, there are two categories of devices right now. One is the device that is already in use, which is the devices that have been handed over to the employees and which is already a part of the existing workforce. And the other category is the new devices that are in stock and are supposed to be handed over to the employees as and when they join. We look at the methods that are provided by MDM for managing both these categories of devices. So firstly, we'll be looking at enrolling devices that are already in use. So these are the devices already in the hands of the employees. So we have got two options for this category. The first one is enrollment using invites, and the second option is self-enrollment. We'll look in greater detail about each of these methods. But before that, you need to understand the benefits for using these enrollment methods. First among which is enrolling devices by invites or self-enrollment essentially isolates your personal and the corporate workspace, whereby the enterprise can have control over the corporate workspace while having zero control over the personal space, thereby ensuring user privacy. The second benefit is that it also prevents unauthorized data access. If a device is a part of your corporate workforce, it is bound to contain a lot of corporate data which you wouldn't want to be accessed by unauthorized elements. When you enroll devices via invites or self-enrollment, you can prevent unauthorized data access. The third and final advantage is restricting the sharing of corporate data. Having prevented unauthorized access to data, it is only wise that you also prevent sharing of data from the mobile device. When you enroll devices using invites or self-enrollment, this restriction is also available. So let us look at the first method, which is enrollment through invites. So this is the basic workflow whereby the admin sends an invite to the new user. The user needs to follow the instructions that are given in the invite, which is either scanning a QR code or accessing the enrollment URL. So once that is done and the instructions are followed, the device gets automatically enrolled with MDM. So to explain this better, I'll take you to the MDM server. So this is the home page of the MDM server. As you can see, it provides you with high-level data about the devices that are being managed. You get a count of enrolled devices, devices that are inactive, and enrollment invites that have been sent. And similarly, you've got 4 different pie charts here that specify the device type as well as the platform of the devices that have been enrolled, whether these devices are personal devices or corporate devices, as well as whether the apps that are present on these devices are blacklisted or not. Similarly, the top menu is your entry for various management features. So we are going to look at each of these modules in greater detail today. So first up, since we are focusing on enrollment, let me click on that. So I click on enrollment from the top menu. As you can see, this is the enrollment view, and this is where you initiate enrollment of mobile devices. But before that, there's going to be one prerequisite in case of Apple devices, which is APNS certificate. As explained previously, APNS is mandatory for managing Apple devices. So all you need to do is click on this tab, APNS certificate, and just follow the instructions that are present there and add an APNS certificate to the MDM server. This certificate is provided by Apple and is free of cost. Further, this APNS certificate gets expired within an year. So to receive notification regarding the APNS expiry, you will have to provide an email address. As you can see here, I've already done that. Further, you also have the expiry date as well as the creation date so that you are aware regarding when the APNS certificate is going to expire. Similarly, you can choose to update details by clicking on this button on the top right, or in case you do not want to manage Apple devices henceforth, you can choose to remove this APNS certificate as well. Now that the prerequisites are done, let me show you how to actually enroll devices. So I click on the Devices tab from the left menu and click on this Enroll Device option. Here, all the basic platforms are available from which you can initiate an enrollment request. In this case, I'm going to enroll an Apple device, so I select Apple and select iOS devices. So in case you are currently in possession of the device, the optimal enrollment option is to go for By Myself, whereby you yourself can enroll the device. In case the device is with the users, you can choose this option through user invites. So in case your organization uses an Active Directory, you can integrate the Active Directory with MDM and select this option Domain User. Select your domain and provide the AD username, which automatically fetches the AD email address. And then in case it's a personal device, select the relevant option, or in case the device has been handed over by the enterprise, you select the option Corporate. And there's this one more option of assigning devices to group. Groups in MDM ensures that devices that share a common criteria are clustered together. Assuming you've got multiple departments in your organization and each department has its own set of unique requirements, like one particular department might require a particular set of apps as well as a particular set of restrictions. When you create groups based on your departments in the enterprise and assign these devices to a particular group based on the device user's department, anytime a device falls into that particular group, all the restrictions, that is all the policies as well as the apps that are associated to that particular department gets automatically distributed to the device when it falls into the group without any admin intervention. So now let me tell you how to create an enrollment request and immediately enroll the device. So for this purpose, I'll be using this option By Myself. So the email address gets automatically prefetched and it's going to be a corporate device. So I select corporate. I don't want to assign it to any group, so I click on next. So this is the enrollment request from where you need to initiate enrollment. Even in case you select enrollment by invites, this is what will be sent via mail. In case of MDM Cloud, you can actually send the enrollment invite via SMS as well. So what the user needs to basically do is just scan this QR code, after which the enrollment gets automatically initiated, or otherwise you can access this URL and provide the OTP when prompted. So once the enrollment is done, the devices get automatically added to this particular view. This is the consolidated enrollment view. So let me show you what happens on the device end. So I'll take you back to the server. So as you can see, I have accessed the URL, and when I'm prompted for an OTP, I've provided the OTP, and then an MDM profile gets installed. As I told you previously, iOS devices do not require an app to be installed for MDM management. However, this MDM profile will leverage the native MDM client that is present on the device for management. So you initiate the installation of the profile. So once you click on install, the device gets enrolled successfully. So all the changes here gets reflected in near real time as statuses on MDM server. So now that you have understood how to send one enrollment request, what happens in case you've got say 50 or 100 devices and you don't want to individually create enrollment invites? The simple option is to create them in bulk. So let me show you how to create enrollment requests in bulk. So I'll take you to the MDM server, click on this ellipsis icon and click on bulk enrollment. In bulk enrollment, you need to upload a CSV file with all these requisite user details. So once you have done that, MDM automatically sends enrollment invites to all those email addresses that have been added using a CSV file. In case you have got any queries regarding the CSV file, you can check out this example CSV that is present. So after which the process is pretty similar to how I showed it in case of sending an individual invite. So let us look at the other option for enrolling devices, which is self-enrollment. As we just saw, this enrollment method, which is enrollment by invites, requires some amount of admin intervention at the start. So you need to either upload the CSV file or need to create enrollment invites individually. So is there any easier way for achieving this? Yes, there is in MDM, which is self-enrollment. So let me explain the workflow for self-enrollment. The user needs to access a self-enrollment link from your organization's self-service portal, provide his or her Active Directory credentials for authentication purpose, after which the device gets automatically enrolled with MDM. Let me show you how this is done on the MDM server. So I'll take you back to the MDM server, click on self-enrollment. So this is a self-enrollment view, and this is the self-enrollment link that is to be shared on your organization's message boards as well as self-service portal, from which the users will access the URL and then enroll their devices. As I have stated previously, Active Directory integration is a must for self-enrollment. You can choose to allow the self-enrollment either for all AD groups, or in case you want this to be a privilege only for managers, you can choose to select only the AD groups containing all the managers and ensure that self-enrollment is available only for managers. The other option for excluding specific groups, so in case you do not want some certain groups of employees to enroll their devices via self-enrollment, you can select the option all AD groups and exclude specific groups by clicking on this link here. As this enrollment happens completely without the knowledge of the IT administrator, it is only valid that the IT administrator gets notified every time a device gets enrolled via self-enrollment. For this purpose, you need to select this checkbox here, which notifies this administrator whenever a device is enrolled via self-enrollment, and then you provide the email address to which the notifications are to be sent. Similar to your enrollment by invites, you can also choose to auto-assign groups for devices that are being enrolled. So in case you have granted self-enrollment only for corporate devices, you can select the ownership type as corporate, and in case you have allowed it for only one particular department, say the sales department, you can select this option sales. So what this does is that any device that gets enrolled via self-enrollment will automatically be assigned ownership as corporate and will automatically fall into the sales department group, and then we'll have all the policies and apps associated with the sales department distributed to these devices without any admin intervention. So once you're done with that, you click on save. As you can see, the enrollment settings have been configured successfully, and this URL can now be used for enrolling devices. So let us see what happens on the device end. So as you can see, I need to select the deployment type, which is on premises in this case, provide the server name, port, as well as your email address, and then provide your AD credentials for authentication purpose. So once this is done, the device gets enrolled automatically. So this brings us to the end of enrolling devices that are already in use. So next up, we are going to see how to enroll devices that are in stock in your inventory that are in a box and are yet to be provided to the employees. So there are going to be certain problems when you're trying to enroll new devices. First among which is you need to complete the initial setup manually, which is the initial setup steps that are shown when the device is activated for the first time. So once you traverse 10 different screens and set up the device, only then can the device be used for enrollment, and only after enrollment can the devices be managed. Similarly, the enrollment methods that we saw had some amount of admin and or user intervention that is required to either initiate enrollment or complete enrollment, which brings us to the question as to whether MDM allows automating enrollment. The answer is yes, MDM does allow you to automate enrollment. In case of iOS devices, you can use Apple Configurator or Apple Enrollment Program, which was formerly known as DEP or Device Enrollment Program. In case of Android devices, you can use EMM token enrollment or zero touch enrollment. We are going to look at all of these methods at greater detail. But before that, I need to explain the benefits for automated enrollment. The first benefit is that enrolling devices via automated enrollment methods ensures that you can install apps silently. This was covered in the previous training session, whereby you require no user intervention and not even an account to be added to the store for both store apps and enterprise apps to be silently installed on the device. In addition to silent installation, you can silently update as well as delete apps when devices are enrolled via automated enrollment. The second benefit is kiosk mode, which is locking devices to a single app or a set of apps, as well as ensure that the settings are predefined, locked, and cannot be modified by the user. So for kiosk mode is one other benefit which is available through automated enrollment. The third benefit is that enrolling devices via automated enrollment method provides full support for all the profiles and configurations that are available in MDM. So first up, we'll be seeing Apple Configurator. So let me explain the workflow for Apple Configurator. Firstly, you need to install and set up Apple Configurator on a Mac machine. It is to be noted that Apple Configurator is a free program devised by Apple for easy and efficient deployment of devices in bulk. Once you have installed and set up Apple Configurator, the next step is to connect the devices that are to be managed via USB to the Mac machine. Once you have done that, you need to pass a configuration file to the devices that are connected via USB. And once that is done, the devices get automatically enrolled with MDM on device activation. So what is this configuration file that I just spoke about? Let me elaborate that. This configuration file is going to contain the MDM server details, that is, the details that the device requires to enroll itself on device activation. The second step is the configuration related to iOS Setup Assistant. One of the biggest pitfalls that I explained when enrolling new devices is that you need to configure the initial setup steps before you can actually enroll the devices. Configuring iOS Setup Assistant ensures that you can choose to skip some or all of the initial setup screens that are shown when the device is activated for the first time. Now let me directly take you to the Apple Configurator setup and explain how to Set up the Apple configurator to enroll devices in bulk. So this is the Apple configurator view. So the first step is to create the MDM configuration file, which is referred to as blueprint in Apple configurator. So I click on blueprint, click on edit blueprints, and I'll be creating a new blueprint for this scenario. MDM free training. So once I've done that, I click on this blueprint and click on prepare. Now this preparation is a step where you provide the MDM server details to the blueprint. You're going to prepare it manually, so you select the option prepare with manual configuration, and this checkbox, which is supervised devices, needs to be enabled. Supervision, as explained in the previous training session, provides the administrator with additional control over the device as well as extra features and capabilities. So once you have done that, you click on next. So I've already configured a virtual MDM server, which is one of the requirements for preparing the blueprint. But for your benefit, I'll show you quickly as to how you need to create a new server. So I'll click on new server, click on next. So I need to provide a server name for this. So let me keep it as MDM test server. And I need to provide a URL. This is the URL which will be accessed by the device after it has been activated to enroll itself with MDM. So I'll show you where this URL is available. So I'll take you back to the server, click on Apple configurator, and click on configuration steps. So this is the URL. Once you click on it, it gets copied, and then you need to paste it back on the Apple configurator. Once you're done with that, any trust certificates that are present in the MDM server gets automatically fetched. So since I've already created a server, let me select that, Silker MDM, and click on next. Already provided my organization name, which is displayed on the device when it gets activated to tell to the user that your organization is going to manage this particular device. So I click on next again. So this is the iOS setup assistant that I spoke about. As you can see here, it has the option of skipping all of these steps. So when you select the option, do not show any of these steps, none of these setup screens are going to be shown on the device during device activation. In case you want to show all these steps, you can select the option show all steps. Or in case you want only a few screens to be displayed, you select this option, show only some steps, and select the relevant options. So in case I want location, services, and CD to be shown, I can select these two options. However, I do not want to show any of these steps currently, so I'll select the option do not show any of these steps and click on prepare. So once I have prepared the blueprint, it contains the MDM server details as well as your iOS setup and configuration. Now that I've configured both of these, the next step is to connect the devices via USB and distribute this blueprint. For that purpose, let me click on done. As you can see, this is the screen which shows the devices when they get connected. So I've connected a device. So I'm going to right click on it and select the apply option from the menu and select the blueprint that I just created. So once I associate a blueprint to the device gets factory reset and the enrollment gets initiated. So let me show you what happens on the device end. As you can see, the device has been factory reset and the initial screen is shown. After which you need to choose a Wi-Fi network. This is required for the device to contact the MDM server over the internet to initiate enrollment. The next step, as you can see, is that there is a prompt for a configuration to be applied. As you can see, the organization name you provided in Apple configurator is displayed here. It says that Silker can automatically configure your iPhone. Once the user selects apply configuration, the device gets enrolled with MDM. It is to be noted that the users have the option of skip configuration, and if at all they select this option, the devices cannot be managed using MDM. As you can see, I have selected install and the configuration gets applied, and after that it's just the welcome screen. Since we chose to skip all of the initial setup steps, none of it is shown and the device is ready to use immediately on enrollment. This is how the device end works with respect to Apple Configurator. The next step after enrollment is done is to assign these enrolled devices to employees. One major benefit with automated enrollment is that it splits the enrollment process into two. One is the onboarding process and the other is assigning the devices to employees. When we are dealing with new devices, these devices have already been purchased and are in stock and are going to be assigned users only when the employees join. So what the automated enrollment process does is that it lets you enroll the devices well in advance and then assign users, which is the employees that are going to use the device as and when they join the organization, thereby easing the process of enrollment completely. I'll explain how to assign users to enroll devices at a later part during this training session. So the second enrollment method that we are going to see under automated enrollment is one for Android, which is EMM token enrollment. So the workflow is pretty simple. So you factory reset the device and provide a DPC identifier which automatically downloads the MDM app. Then you open the MDM app and scan a particular QR code, after which the device gets automatically enrolled with MDM. Similar to supervision for iOS devices, when you enroll Android devices using automated enrollment methods, the device gets provisioned as work device, previously known as work managed device or device owner, which provides the administrator with superior control over the device as well as additional features. So let me take you to the server and show where the QR code is available. So I take you to the server, click on EMM token enrollment. This is the QR code that needs to be scanned by the user to initiate enrollment, and AFW-MEMDM is the DPC identifier that needs to be provided. So where is this DPC identifier supposed to be provided? That can be explained once you understand what happens on the device end. So I'll show you that. So the first step after you have factory reset the device is entering the DPC identifier, also known as an EMM token, when prompted for a Google account. In this scenario, you do not enter your Google account and instead you enter the Google provided DPC identifier for MDM, which is AFW-MEMDM. Once you have provided that, the MDM app gets automatically installed. You open the app and click on the scan QR code option and then scan the QR code which I previously explained and thus enroll your device into MDM. The users can then add their personal Google accounts after the device has been enrolled. So this brings another interesting question. My organization is growing and has purchased 500 new devices. In such a case, it's obviously going to be difficult to unbox each of these devices and then enroll. So you must be wondering, is there any way to further automate the automated enrollment method? Is there any which way by which the devices can be enrolled out of the box, such that when the device gets activated for the first time, the device gets unboxed and activated for the first time, the device gets automatically enrolled? Yes, MDM does provide you with such methods as well, which is namely the Apple Enrollment Method or DEP in case of iOS devices and zero-touch enrollment in case of Android devices. So we are going to see both of these methods in greater detail. But before we start off, there are certain prerequisites for these automated enrollment methods. First among which is that in case you want to enroll iOS devices, you need to create an account with Apple. Or in case you want to enroll devices that are running the Android OS, you need to have an account with Google. The second most important prerequisite is that devices need to be purchased either directly or from authorized resellers. So the first method that we are going to see right now is Apple Business Manager or Apple Device Enrollment, which is formerly referred to as the Apple Device Enrollment Program or DEP. So in case you're already using Apple DEP, you can choose to freely upgrade to Apple Business Manager. So this is the workflow for Apple Business Manager. You integrate the MDM server with the ABM portal, and then you add the devices to the ABM portal. Since the ABM portal and MDM server are integrated, you are implicitly adding the devices directly to the MDM server. As you can see, these are admin performed and are one time. So once this is done, the devices get automatically enrolled with MDM on device activation. This can be done both by the user as well as the IT administrator. So let me show you how this is done. So this is the MDM server. You click on the option Apple Enrollment. There's one more point here. In case of educational institutions, Apple provides a separate program which is called as Apple School Manager or ASM. However, the workflow for Apple Business Manager and Apple School Manager is exactly the same. So I'll just be explaining with respect to Apple Business Manager. So the first step is to download the public key that is provided in the MDM server. So once you do that, you go to the ABM portal where this token needs to be uploaded. For that purpose, I click on MDM servers. So basically, when you're trying to add an MDM server, you're creating a virtual instance of your MDM server on the ABM portal. So whenever a device gets added to the virtual MDM server, it automatically gets reflected on the real MDM server on device activation. So to identify this MDM server, you need to provide an MDM server name and then upload the key that you downloaded from MDM. So once you're done with that, after providing a name as well as uploading the public key, you're ready to get a server token. For that purpose, click on Save and click on this option Get Token and then click on Download Server Token. So once this is done, you have been given a server token which needs to be uploaded back on the MDM server to complete the integration. So I click on Next. And then I choose the server token, upload it back here. And similar to APNS certificate, the server token also expires within an year. And to receive notification prior to its expiry, you need to provide an email address here, which will automatically get notified sometime before the server token expiry, after which it can be renewed. So once you're done with that, you click on Upload. As you can see, I've added the server token. Now I click on Upload. As we are speaking about fully automated enrollment methods, MDM has gone one step further, whereby it also lets the users auto-assign the devices by themselves after authentication. For this purpose, we use the Active Directory credentials as means of authentication, whereby the users need to provide the username as domain name / username when the device gets activated. Similar to Apple Configurator, you can also choose to skip either some or all of the initial setup screens that are shown when the device gets activated for the first time. In addition to the simplified enrollment method, other advantages with Apple Business Manager is that it ensures that the user cannot revoke MDM management, as well as also force installs the MDM app on the device, which is required to locate the device, to share documents to the device, as well as to detect if the device is jailbroken or not. For all these purposes, MDM app is required, and when you enroll the devices via Apple Business Manager, the MDM app gets automatically installed on the device. So once you're done with that, you click on Create. As you can see, the server has been added to MDM, and now you need to add devices to your virtual server that is present in the Apple Business Manager. So I'll take you back to Apple Business Manager. And for adding devices, there's another easy option. You need not manually add devices that are going to purchase in future. Instead, what you do is provide your reseller ID. So reseller ID is a unique ID that has been given by Apple to Apple authorized resellers. So to add a reseller ID, you click on this add option. You click on this add option and provide the reseller ID and click on save. So once you are done with that, anytime you purchase the devices from the reseller has the option of adding the devices to the virtual MDM server on Apple Business Manager, after which the devices can get automatically enrolled on device activation. So this is how you enroll. This is how you add devices to ABM that are going to be purchased in future. So what about the devices that you have already purchased? Unfortunately, you need to add these devices manually, but even here, Apple provides you with 3 different methods to further ease out this manual addition of devices. You can choose to add devices by providing their serial numbers in case the devices are just a few in number. You can choose to provide an order number, or you can upload a CSV file containing the device details. So in this case, I'm going to just add one device. So I've selected the option serial number. I've provided the serial number, and then I want to assign this device to the virtual server that I just created. So I select the option Silker SFO and click on Done. So once I have done this, this is going to be a one-time action by the administrator, after which the devices can be automatically added to the ABM portal by the resellers, and then the devices get automatically enrolled with MDM on device activation without any user or admin intervention. Now let us see what happens in the device. Once the device gets activated, the same configuration step is shown. This step is the one that we saw in Apple Configurator. However, you need to note a big difference here, which is it doesn't allow the user to skip configuration. Instead, the only option is to apply this configuration, which is done by clicking on Next, after which the configuration gets applied and the devices are enrolled with MDM and are ready for management. As you can see, there are no initial setup steps shown, as the device steps have already been skipped using the DEP setup, and thus the devices are ready for management, and there's absolutely no configuration that the user needs to do. The device is immediately ready for usage. Now we look at the second completely automated method, which is zero-touch enrollment, and this is for Android devices. This method is very similar to Apple Business Manager. So firstly, you set up an Android zero-touch portal using a Google account, and then you create an MDM configuration on the portal. So this is pretty similar to the MDM configuration that you create an Apple configurator. So this MDM configuration is going to contain the MDM server details which the device requires to enroll itself on device activation. So once you've created an MDM configuration on the portal, the next step is to assign this MDM configuration to the devices. As you can see, all of this is an admin performed and is one time. So once you're done with it, you can distribute the devices, which gets automatically enrolled with MDM on device activation. As you can see, this can be performed either by the user, which is the device user, or the employee, or can be done by the administrators themselves. So this is the zero-touch portal. So I'm gonna create a configuration. So I click on that. Then I provide a friendly name to identify the configuration. And under EMM DPC, I need to select ManageEngine MDM for Google Zero Touch Portal to identify the MDM service that is being used for management. And then you provide something called as the DPC extras. This DPC extras is going to contain the MDM server details which the devices will look up to on device activation to initiate enrollment. I'll show you where this is available. But before that, let us complete this configuration. So you need to provide your company name as well as a contact email address. So once that is done, you click on Apply. As you can see, the configuration has been done, and similar to Apple Device Enrollment Program, you have this option whereby the resellers will be the ones that will be adding the devices to the Zero Touch portal, after which the enrollment gets automatically initiated. So let us see what happens on the device end. As you can see, the device has been activated, and here you see that the MDM app is going to be mandatorily installed, and there's no option of skipping this. As you may remember, MDM app is required for management of Android devices. So once you click on Accept and Continue, device gets set up as a work device, which I previously stated provides the administrator with complete control over the device. So once that is done, you get a success message and you click on Finish. The enrollment is done. So let me tell you what is a JSON file that is to be added under DPC extras. So I'll take you to the MDM server. Click on Zero Touch Enrollment. Zero Touch Enrollment steps. So when you click on Copy, this JSON file gets copied, and this JSON file is going to contain the details about the MDM server, which is used by the devices to initiate enrollment. I also told you about assigning users to the devices that have already been enrolled. As you can see, I have enrolled a device here which is yet to be assigned users. I can choose to either assign users to devices on an individual basis by clicking on this action assign user, or in case I've got multiple devices that have been enrolled which are yet to be assigned users. In such a case, I can select this option assign users and then download a CSV file which will contain information regarding all the devices that have been enrolled but have not been assigned users. So in this CSV, you add the user details and upload it back. Once you have uploaded back, the users get automatically assigned to the MDM server. So now I click on assign user, provide basic details. So say I've provided the username as well as the email address. I do not want it to be assigned to any group, so I select the option select and provide an optional name. It's going to be test device. And then once I click on assign, the device will be moved from this particular view to the common enrollment view. So you can see all the devices that have been enrolled using various methods will be listed on the common enrollment view. This can be identified by selecting this enrollment type. So the first device has been enrolled via Apple Configurator. Then we have got a few devices that have been enrolled via invite. Then you have got EMM token. So no matter how the device has been enrolled, all the devices can be viewed from the common enrollment view. So let us have a quick recap of all the enrollment methods that we just saw. You can actually split the devices into two different categories, which is namely the devices that are already in use by the employees or the new devices. In case of devices that are already in use, you can choose to enroll the devices via invite, which is sent through email or SMS, and this invite can be sent individually or in bulk. The second option is to enroll the devices by using AD credentials. This is called as self-enrollment. In case of new devices, for iOS, we saw how to enroll devices via ABM or ASM, as well as Apple Configurator. In case of Android, we saw how to enroll devices via EMM token and ZTE. As you can see, there are a lot more methods that are yet to be explored. And in case you want to know more details about these enrollment methods, like the enrollment methods that are available for Windows, the other enrollment methods that are available for Android, we can actually schedule a personalized demo at a convenient date and time. So in case you're interested in a personalized demo, do let us know on chat, after which we'll contact you and set up a demo at a time and date of your convenience. So this brings us to the end of the first scenario. In case you've got any queries, please don't hesitate to post it on chat. So next scenario that we are going to see is pushing corporate configurations to manage devices. As you can see, I have enrolled devices, and the next obvious step is to push all the configurations on the device to ensure that the device is usage ready immediately on enrollment. The other advantage with these corporate configurations is that it can be configured in accordance with the organization security standards, and you need not expect the user to do all of that. So the corporate configurations that we are going to see today, basically configuring a strong passcode policy, setting up basic profiles such as Wi-Fi, VPN, email, and Exchange. We're going to see how to set up a complex policy such as single sign-on very easily using MDM. And we're going to also see how to set up a wallpaper for your home screen and or lock screen. In case of corporate devices that act as your point of sale or digital signage devices, you would want your organization's logo or organization's name to be displayed as a wallpaper. We'll see how all of it can be achieved. So to do that, I'll quickly take you to the MDM server. Click on device management from the top menu and select profiles. And click on create profiles. As you can see, I can create profiles for any different platform, but in this particular case, I'm going to create a profile for Apple devices. You provide a profile name to identify the profile. So these are the set of policies that are available for Apple devices. So we are going to configure a passcode policy. A profile can actually contain multiple policies, as you can see here. But first up, we are going to configure passcode policy. I do not want the passcode to have simple values, so I'm going to select no for this option. And I would want it to contain alphanumeric values, so I select yes. And the minimum passcode length is going to be 5, so that prevents guessing of passcodes. I also want one complex character to be added to ensure the passcode cannot be attacked via brute force. So once I'm done with that, I click on save and publish. So once I'm done with that, this profile is ready for distribution. So before I can distribute it to an entire set of devices, I would want to distribute it to one device and see if it works fine. For that purpose, I click on this link here and go to devices and then select a device. So I'll select Jim's iPad in this case and click on action as associate profile. Now you can see all the profiles that can be applied to this device are listed here. So I'm going to select the profile and click on select. As you can see, the profile has been associated to the device successfully. Now let us see what happens on the device end. As you can see, the user has been given a mandate of setting a passcode within 60 minutes. Only then will be the device compliant with the organization standards. So let us see how to create other profiles. So I'll take you back to profiles, click on create profile, Apple. Now we'll see how to configure other policies. So first up, I'll show you how to configure VPN quickly. So you need to provide the SSID that you want the device to connect to, which in this case is Silka Corp. In case you want the device to automatically connect to this Wi-Fi connection when it's in the vicinity, you select the option yes. And in case it's a hidden network, you select yes for that as well. Similarly, you select the security type. So in this case, it's any, but MDM also supports security types such as WEP, WEP Enterprise, as well as WPA, WPA2. So once you're done with that, you provide the other requisite details and then click on save. Then now let me show you how to configure multiple policies under the same profile. So for this case, I'm going to configure a VPN policy. As more and more organizations move to mobile-only workforce, there are high chances that employees use their mobile devices even at home to do work. In such a scenario, you would want the employees to access corporate data in a secure way, and VPN helps you achieve just that. Let us see how to configure VPN using MDM. So you provide a connection name, and then you select your VPN type. So in case it's Cisco AnyConnect, then you select the option, provide the relevant details. Say I'm going to provide the server name, silka.vpn.com. And then in case you want VPN to be automatically enabled when the user accesses certain URLs, you can configure VPN on demand and select the option yes. And once you provide these URLs and associate the policy, anytime the user accesses a particular URL, VPN will be automatically enabled. So you must be wondering, is VPN available only for URLs? What about applications? In that case, you can configure per app VPN. So let me just quickly save this one. So now provide a domain name, which I will provide later. So let me quickly show you how to configure per app VPN. So you specify the app name. So in this case, I want Zoho Books to use VPN. So I select that app. And then I select this option, automatically connect to this VPN when the user is accessing this particular app. And then I can further secure the network communication by using either app proxy or packet tunneling. And then I provide other details required for my VPN connection, the VPN type. And in case I need to configure a proxy, I can do that as well. Similarly, you can also configure email as well as Exchange Active Sync. As you can see, we have got granular control with respect to the email policy. You can choose to prevent moving messages between the personal and corporate account by clicking on yes. You can choose to disable recent mail address sync as well. And similarly, you can individually configure the details required for your incoming mail as well as your outgoing mail server. The next option is Exchange Active Sync. So Exchange Active Sync is pretty much similar to your email configuration. You need to provide your Exchange host type, whether it's O365 or Exchange on-premises. However, there's one catch here. Since Exchange Active Sync as well as emails are profiles that are associated to the individuals, you must be wondering as to whether I need to create a profile every single time for every user that is present in the organization. The answer is no. MDM has something called as dynamic variables, which fetches the relevant details that are required from the enrollment details that are present. So in case I want the user principal name to be the username. I provide the dynamic variable %UPN percentage, whereby the user principal name is fetched automatically, and thus you need to create this policy only once and you can distribute it to any number of employees. Next option is Enterprise SSO. As you can see, you need to have your Kerberos server set up on your organization. You provide a display name for that, say test, and then you provide your Kerberos principal name. So here again, you can use a dynamic variable which will automatically fetch the username that is provided. Can provide then you need to provide a Kerberos realm as well as an identity certificate. As you know, you can add identity certificate using both the certificate payload as well as distribute it in a large scale using SEEP, which is a simple certificate enrollment protocol. Similarly, I can choose to allow SSO for specific apps, like in case I want my mail as well as my CRM to be connected via single sign-on, whereby once I sign into mail, I'll get automatically signed into CRM. You can select those apps, and similar to VPN, you can choose to specify certain URLs for which the SSO gets provisioned. So once I'm provided with the URL, the SSO gets applied for both the apps as well as the URLs. Let us explain the concept of wallpaper. So you can choose to set individual wallpapers for home screen as well as the lock screen on the same policy. You drag and drop the image, click on save, and you're ready to go. Now, having configured Exchange, you would want to ensure that unauthorized devices do not get access to your corporate emails that are present in Exchange. However, once the user knows the credentials for the Exchange account, he or she can try to use it on any device. So how do you actually prevent that? You can prevent unauthorized access in case you manage the devices, but what will you do in case of devices that are not managed? MDM tries to put a check at the other end, which is the Exchange server. It restricts access to Exchange server, whereby only those devices that are enrolled with MDM can get access to the Exchange server. There are certain prerequisites for configuring Exchange access that is set up here. You need to configure AD, integrate AD with MDM, self-enrollment must be enabled, and basic authentication needs to be enabled on the machine that is running the Exchange server. This is applicable only in case the server is running Windows Server 2010 OS. This is basically the workflow. You integrate Exchange with MDM server, which fetches all the details that are available in Exchange as well as the devices that are accessing Exchange, and then you set up a conditional Exchange policy. These two steps are admin performed and are one time. So once you're done, only devices that are enrolled with MDM can get access to Exchange. So quickly move to the server. You click on conditional Exchange access from the left menu after you've selected device management from the top menu. You provide the Exchange host type and then your username and password. Once you're done with providing username and password, you click on next, and the Exchange server gets integrated with MDM, and then all the devices that are accessing MDM, that are accessing Exchange, get listed here. Now you need to set up a conditional Exchange access policy. So I'll click on configure now. And I want to apply this policy on all the users, but at the same time, I want to provide a grace period for the users to enroll their devices. So during this grace period, the devices can continue to access Exchange without enrolling with MDM. However, they'll be sent a daily warning stating that their access will be restricted in case they do not enroll with MDM before the grace period expires. So once the grace period has expired, the devices become restricted devices, and thus their access will also be restricted. So I click on apply policy. So you can see the policy has been configured and gets applied to the devices. So you can see all the devices that are allowed access to Exchange and all devices that are restricted. As you can see, 3 devices that are in grace period have been allowed access, whereas all the devices that have not been enrolled with MDM are automatically restricted access. To regain the access, they'll have to enroll their devices using self-enrollment, and thus the self-enrollment URL needs to be shared across all your message ports as well as self-service portals. This is just a recap on all the applications with which MDM integrates. As I stated previously, it integrates with Spiceworks, Services Plus, Zoho Creator, as well as CRM. So we have come to the end of the 2 main scenarios. As you can see, MDM does support a lot of basic policies in addition to what I explained. So in case you want to knowing greater detail about all the policies we support, we can have a personalized demo arranged at a date and time of your convenience. And as I stated before, in case you are interested in a personalized demo, you can provide your details or provide your interest on chat, and we'll contact you to set up a demo. Now we look at a few other scenarios and their solutions. The first scenario is that my organization uses Windows devices, so how can I enroll these devices in bulk without user interaction? So let me take you to the MDM server and explain all the methods that we have got with respect to enrolling Windows devices in bulk. So there are two main options. The first is Azure Enrollment or Autopilot, which is pretty similar to your Apple Business Manager or Zero Touch Enrollment. Similarly, we have got a dedicated enrollment method for laptops in Service Pro, which is an extension of the enrollment that is done using Windows Imaging and Configuration Designer, which is Windows ICD. This method is similar to Apple Configurator, whereby you connect the devices using USB and then add a PPKG file, which then ensures that the devices get enrolled with MDM. The second scenario is an employee is moved from one department to another. The old profiles and restrictions need to be removed, and the ones that are pertaining to the new department needs to be added. So how is this possible? In a lot of enterprises, movement between departments is very common for employees. However, removing old configurations and uninstalling the older apps and then installing new apps as well as new configurations has always been a pain for IT administrators. Let us see how MDM solves this problem. So I take you back to the MDM server, click on device management. Now I'll select a group. I'll select the finance department in this case. So I select the device that is present here and click on move to group. In case the device has moved to the in case the user has moved to the marketing department, so I select that and click on select again. So the device is removed from this particular group. When the device gets removed, the apps and the profiles that have been distributed to this device when it was a part of this particular group gets automatically removed at the back end. And once the device gets added to the new group, all the policies and all the policies, profiles, and apps that are pertaining to the new group get automatically added at the backend. As you can see, the device has been successfully moved to the new group, which means that the profiles will be automatically added as well as the apps will be automatically distributed to the device. I want any downloads from my internal websites to be viewed only using a managed app. Is it possible? So most certainly this is possible. This can be done using something called as managed web domains. So let me quickly create a profile for that. I'm going to create an Apple profile, provide a name, and select managed web domains. So whatever URLs you provide here, these URLs, whatever downloads you do from these particular URLs can be only used using only viewed using managed apps. In case you've got MDM app installed on the device, you can use MDM app to view these documents as well. As you know, the MDM document has an in-app document reader which can be used for this particular purpose. I don't want users to remove devices from a management. How can I do that? So we already saw how you can prevent users from revoking management in case of iOS devices. Let us see if MDM provides you with options for the other two platforms, namely Android and Windows. So I'll quickly go back to the MDM server, select enrollment from the top menu, and then I select MDM app that is present under Android from the left menu. And then I select this option no for allowing the users to remove MDM app. As MDM app is the primary source of management in case of Android devices, when you prevent the users from uninstalling MDM app, you essentially ensure that the management is not revoked. In case of Windows, I go to the MDM settings that is present under Windows 10. And then for this option, allow user to delete MDM workspace account, I select the option no. Since this workspace account leverages a native client for management, preventing users from deleting the MDM workspace account essentially ensures that the user cannot revoke management. So what happens in case the devices are revoked management and you need to be notified? Simple, you go to the enrollment settings and select this option, notify when a device is unmanaged, provide an email address. So whenever a device gets unmanaged, you'll be notified and then you can take preventive actions. That brings us to the end of the scenario section. Now let me have a quick look at the questions that have been asked. So the first question is, I've purchased a few devices neither directly from Apple nor from its resellers. Can I enroll it with Apple Business Manager? As you saw, Apple Business Manager has a whole lot of advantage, namely mandatory MDM app installation, preventing users from revoking management, and in general being a very simplified enrollment method. But what happens in case you have purchased devices neither from Apple nor from its reseller? Simple. You can add devices to DEP using Apple Configurator. For that, the process is pretty much similar, but when you're preparing the blueprint, you need to select this option, Add to Device Enrollment Program, and also select this option, Activate and Complete Enrollment. So once this is done and the blueprint gets added to the device, the workflow is pretty much similar to ABM. Thus, you enroll devices into your ABM portal using Apple Configurator. As you can see, this is the Apple Configurator menu that I already explained. So once you follow the configuration steps here, you can have the devices enrolled to DEP using Apple Configurator. Second question is, how does the MDM server be protected from unauthorized access? So to fortify the security and access to the MDM server, let me show you what can be done. So I'll take you to the admin tab. And this is the common admin tab. So here we are going to see how to fortify security for those who are trying to log in an unauthorized way. So I can select this option, Secure Authentication. So I can choose to have TFA enabled, whereby the mode of authentication can either be email or Google Authenticator. I can also have a separate passcode policy configured for the technicians that are logging into the MDM server. As you can see, this is pretty much similar to the passcode policy that we already saw. Once you've configured that, you have fortified your security to prevent unauthorized access to the MDM server. Is it possible to apply a profile created for one platform to devices running on other platforms? This is basically not possible because each and every profile contains policies which in the backend contain those programming codes that are particular or specific to a platform. Thus, policies that are configured for one platform cannot be associated to devices that are running another platform. Want to apply different policies as separate profiles? Is it possible to apply multiple profiles? Yes, most certainly you can apply multiple policies that are present in multiple profiles by distributing them to the devices using MDM. There is no restriction on how much profiles can be distributed to a device and how much policies each profile must contain. So this must bring another question in your mind, which is, what happens in case I apply two profiles with contradictory restrictions? In case of Windows and iOS, the most secure combination is preferred, and in case of Android, the most recent combination is preferred. In case in the first profile, you have set the passcode length to be 4 and you've restricted the camera, and in the second profile that you are associating, you have enabled camera. In case of iOS and Windows devices, the first profile gets retained, whereby the passcode length is 4 and the camera stays restricted, even though the restriction has been revoked in the second profile. And in case of Android, the camera restriction will be revoked as Android supports the most recent combination. This brings us to the end of this training session. You can rate us on a scale of 1 to 5, where 5 is the best in case you like this session. Similarly, you can also spread a word across various social media regarding our training program. The next training schedule, as you see here, will be on December 6, 2018, the same time, and will be covering app deployment and device security. Thank you for being a wonderful audience. Thanks again.